So welcome back. This is Mark Williams, and we are wrapping up our MBSE track with our last presentation. So let me say that GPDIS would not exist without the support of our sponsors. They are very important to us. Not only do the sponsors support our program, but they also participate in the discussion of how we can improve the interoperability of our data. And this is the Interoperability Summit. That's the name of this conference. And this year's theme, Data Readiness in a New Age of Digital Collaboration, implies that the path to interoperability is important to all of us. So let me introduce Jeff Pilato and Robin Mikola, both of Sodius Willart. We refer to them as Sodius, and they are the premier translation company for MBSE data. Jeff and Robin, please take it away.
Well, thank you. Hello, I'm Jeff Pilato. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Sodius. I have broad responsibilities in supporting our executive management team and our valued customers, including Boeing and Northrop. Robin, could you please introduce yourself?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Robin Mikola. I'm a systems engineer with a career spanning the defense and aerospace and automotive domains. I'm a certified provisional ASPICE assessor and have supported 2 vertically integrated companies comply with the latest ISO 9000 standard certifications. I also have the honor of being re-elected president of the Michigan chapter of INCOSE 2022, which is hosting the next international symposium in Detroit next summer. We look forward to seeing you all. At Sodius, I support the publisher product family in the entire U.S. market. I am very grateful to have the opportunity to share our capability with you.
Next slide, please. So today we're going to focus on the MagicDraw Publisher family. This particular solution will enable exporting or migrating your systems models or your UML models into the Cameo Systems Modeler, or commonly known as MagicDraw. So we'll go into a lot of detail there, and then we'll do a quick touch on interoperability at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. For those of you that don't know Sodus Corp is a U.S. company. We're located in the Detroit, Michigan suburbs. We are the leader in software solutions for data transformation. That's one of the things we're going to talk about here today. Enterprise interoperability, lots of solutions for that, and model-based code gen. And these things help you improve your data exchange, transformation, traceability, and linking of engineering data in the highly regulated industries. And bottom line, we enable digital engineering workflows. This particular product is primarily deployed in the U.S. aerospace and defense companies. We'll talk a little about that, and the agencies themselves. Next slide, please. So the MagicDraw Publisher for Rhapsody or System Architect or Rational Software Architect will help you in a couple areas. First question is, if you need to deliver in MagicDraw and you're using these tools, how are you going to get all the years of modeling that you have on the shelf, your intellectual property, how are you going to get it migrated quickly? And how do you transfer that data consistently, accurately, and very fast for both diagrams, elements on these super large models? The Sodius MagicDraw Publisher family is the only thing that you can use to automatically and quickly move that data from one modeling tool to another. Next slide, please. So again, I said we have a solution for Rhapsody, for Unicom System Architect, and the Rational Software Architect. Next slide, please. The use cases that we see are exporting and migrating. About a third of our customers export. What that means is you continue to work in your Rhapsody tool, for an example, and when it comes time to deliver to your customer, you do an export and you publish into a MagicDraw file format. And basically, it works really well. It's a lot of fun and very easy, and you do it over and over again when your customer is asking you for model changes. Then there's Migrate. And where I see Migrate the most is when somebody's saying, we want to change our tool workflow. And we want to get off of, say, the Unicom System Architect or RSA and move right into Cameo for our systems design tool. We'll talk a little more about that as we get into the presentation. Next slide, please. So Robin, why don't you take it from here so that you can go into some depth on these three tools, please.
Okay, again, my name is Robin Mikola, and I have the opportunity to share our technology with you today. As a systems engineer for close to 2 decades, I understand that data interoperability is a requirement for our future complex systems. We need to share and deliver technology in a common language, but the effort required is tedious to convert, link, trace, or transform data. Beyond that, and as discussed throughout today, commonality in the definition or implementation by the tool vendors does not exist. These tools implement the standards differently. They interpret them differently. Users use them differently, causing the teams and the systems engineers or the engineers to focus on the tool and the implementation of the tool instead of on what they should be focusing on, their models and the data. So there's a need to quickly bring the focus back to what engineers do best. And I believe you'll see from my presentation how the publisher technology helps our customers achieve this success. So today I will introduce the 3 off-the-shelf publishers we have in the product family, starting with the publisher for Rhapsody. So like Jeff said, the publisher for Rhapsody and all of our publishers generate a functionally equivalent, complete MagicDraw Cameo project file from an existing source model. So the resulting project can be opened, compared, or merged in Cameo or uploaded to your configuration management tool of choice. The publisher applies a consistent rule set across a complete project. So here you see the standard SysML diagram topology. The publisher for Rhapsody covers more than just the standard SysML definitions. But for example, for this presentation, we're going to focus on SysML. We do have customers in UML, and we're constantly adding more than just SysML, like hyperlinks and color coding and images. The resulting Cameo MagicDraw model includes all model elements, accounting for the differences between the tools, and we'll get more into that later on. The publisher also captures diagrams. This is something that inherently in the past, anything off the shelf doesn't bring with you. Placement, sizing, display options matter on these diagrams. Most of us don't normally use the auto-arrange options because of context and readability. These things matter. The publisher covers this. We also provide detailed metrics and reporting. We know that our customers want to know, did the result, match the source? So we have detailed logging and information. The rules are defined in our documentation, as well as we provide not only user configurable options for how to transform elements when they're different between the tools, but also over 90 display layout configuration options that are applied consistently by diagram or by element. So here we have an example of structure diagrams where on the left, of course, is Rhapsody. On the right is the Cameo MagicDraw output. In the example, notice placement, organization, line routing, sizing. It's all maintained through the publish. And for this presentation, we focus on the diagrams, but please understand that to have these diagrams, the underlying functionality must also be there. And here also I want to point out too, you'll see on the right-hand side for Cameo, those are the default Cameo colors. This is a user configurable option. You can choose to transfer the color coding. So if, for example, you color-coded your diagrams in Rhapsody, you can select that configuration and it will bring those colors over to the result. Now, the requirements diagram is usually one of the most user-configured items and styled items. On the left here, you'll see an example of what it looks like in Rhapsody. On the right, you'll see what it looks like in Cameo No Magic. Notice again, placement, spacing, sizing are maintained. But also important here is which compartment do you display when? What information do you want to display about the elements on that diagram when? The publisher allows users to configure these options. Then those options are applied either by element or diagram consistently across the project. A lot of our customers come back and say, thank you, this cleaned up our project. The result looks better than the source. Here, for example, we show, we understand lots of customers like to show IDs, text, those sorts of things. Those are just configurable options that you can say, I want to display these on requirements. The publisher captures this organization and readability of the diagrams. Imagine recreating just 15 of these by hand. How do you ensure consistency and styling are maintained without applying a consistent automated rule set? This is where the publisher helps out quite a bit. Behavior diagrams. These have been historically extremely difficult to transfer between tools, to migrate or to publish. Tool vendors don't always implement or interpret the standard identically. They're extremely different between Rhapsody and MagicDraw for some of these. Users tend to do what the tool allows, which is sometimes not even allowed by the other tools. So like discussed in earlier sessions, there isn't commonality of the definition. Our publisher provides those rules and configurable options for how to transform functionally equivalent results for these cases. And this is all documented in our documents and as well logged in our logging. But notice as well on these types of diagrams, spacing, sizing, placement, what's embedded in what. This is all extremely important. Like if you use the off-the-shelf XML, they're not going to look like this. With the publisher, the differences between the tools are captured and mitigated with the rules and our user configurable options. Our technology has been proven with our many very happy customers, and the technology is continuously growing the capability as we find new unique methods of implementation by our customers. When you think of creating a diagram from scratch in one of these tools, there's a million iterations, ways to display an element or a transition on a diagram. What information do you want to show about that element? Do you have internal modeling guidelines? Are there styling guidelines? Do you like line jumps? Is color coding something that's important? The publisher provides 90 user configurable options, and I just want to say that if the API exists to allow us to know what was set in Rhapsody, we transform what was there. When the API doesn't exist, we allow a configurable option for the users to say, I want to set this, and I want to set it consistently for elements or consistently for diagrams. And the best part being that the styling and the configurations are consistently applied across the entire model in an automated way. Silent mode for all of our customers and users out there using continuous integration environments. We on the publisher team also use the continuous integration environment. So we understand how important it is to have these silent modes, batch modes, those sorts of things. So when you have a large model or you need to publish frequently or you need to publish a group of models, automation becomes necessary. For this reason, we provide a configurable silent mode, which allows you to roll up a bunch of projects into a batch publish or integrate with your environments to publish on a schedule. The configuration settings are a separate controllable file that you can set to publish for this group wants this styling, and this group wants a different styling. You can configure your user configuration however you want and manage it however you want within your tools. We have recently released our version 2.5 of the publisher. We're consistently working on enhancing all of our publisher product families, all of our publisher products. The key feature with version 2.5.0, if any of you have seen our version 2.4, is our customers asked for the publisher to run faster. For example, you have a model with 3,000 diagrams and 300,000 elements. In version 2.4 of the publisher, it would take 14 hours to make it through the publish. Our customers said, hey, hold on, we have resets on some of our stuff that's 12 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. We can't wait 14 hours to publish a single model. So the publisher team heard this request and said, okay, we'll find a solution. And we found a more efficient interface and method for the transformation. So now my largest validation model that took 14 hours to publish in the past now takes less than 2 hours. And most of that is generating the reporting and the metrics, which we're working on enhancing for the next release. So we're continuously making mapping enhancements for our customers, adding new functionalities, new features. For this release, we've improved local tags, dependencies, constraints, and custom stereotypes. We've implemented free shapes. A lot of our customers use free shapes on diagrams, although they're not contextually applicable to SysML. It's not part of the system, but they use them, and it's necessary for what they're doing. So we implemented free shapes. The interesting thing about free shapes is they're only available on the Rhapsody API in version 9.01 and beyond. So if you have a version prior to 9.01, you won't have the free shapes, but with the latest version, you will. But like we said, the publisher for Rhapsody is the only technology on the market that supports all of this, the diagrams, the spacing, the functionally equivalent mapping for integration into common tooling, like we're going for. So the next publisher I would like to talk about is the publisher for Unicom System Architect. We've run into quite a lot of customers who have a lot of legacy model information in Unicom System Architect with a need to integrate with customers and suppliers in MagicDraw Cameo. So we're very excited to share this technology with your programs. Now the publisher for System Architect currently is a bit different than the publisher for Rhapsody, as in the publisher for Rhapsody goes from SysML to SysML, UML to UML. Here, the publisher for System Architect is tailored to a transformation from DODAF 2.0 to UPDM 2.1. All the transformation rules are part of our documentation. And a side note, our team is also working on a straight UML to UML publisher for System Architect, hopefully to come out later this year. But for this presentation, like the previous publisher, I'd like to focus just on this transformation rule set. So the publisher for System Architect converts a complete System Architect project utilizing the DODAF 2.0 encyclopedia to a UPDM 2.1 project for MagicDraw Cameo, including, like all the other publishers, all model elements, diagrams, as well as reporting. So here we have the common DODAF 2.0 definition. The publisher transforms this DODAF 2 encyclopedia to the corresponding UPDM 2.1 definition in Cameo MagicDraw. The transformation rule set is defined clearly in the user documentation. There's a big table that says this turns to this turns to this, as well as we provide, detailed HTML metrics where you can follow the links. This became this, this became this. Here's what didn't transform because it was unresolved or something like that. So here on this slide we have examples of the source model and the result for some capability and operational views. Here on the left you see the System Architect, and on the right you see the Cameo MagicDraw. Notice again the spacing, sizing, and placement is maintained on the diagrams through the transformation. Here we see additional DODAF examples showing the what the resulting diagram looks like. The transformation rule set is consistently applied. Placement, spacing, and sizing are captured. Again, reducing the rework required by the modeling teams. Again, this publisher is the only option on the market to streamline the integration of these models into common tooling. The final publisher that I'll talk about is the publisher for Rational Software Architect. This also creates a complete MagicDraw Cameo project file from an RSA project, but this one provides currently multiple rule sets, and we'll get into that in a second. So the two different rule sets are managed as two different services within the publisher. So the publisher provides a service that will transform direct UML to UML. So UML in RSA to UML in MagicDraw Cameo. There is also an additional service by customer demand asking for a transformation from UPIA in Rational Software Architect to UPDM 2.1 in MagicDraw Cameo. Both services are provided, and both services, of course, focus on elements, model elements, diagrams, and logging, as well as these go quite a lot into custom profiles, as those is something used quite frequently in RSA. So here we see an example of the publisher for RSA UML service. On the left, you see the diagram in RSA. In the middle is a screenshot of what the publisher application and user interface looks like. And then on the right is the output in Cameo MagicDraw. Again, notice placement, sizing, spacing, those are all maintained. Line routing, organization, it's captured. And then here is an example of the publisher for RSA UPIA service, where the left shows the diagrams in RSA and the bottom, but left top and bottom show the Cameo MagicDraw. Again, placement, sizing, spacing are maintained. And again, the transformation rules when a transformation occurs or there's a difference between the tools are provided in our modeling guidelines, which is part of the user documentation in the release itself, as well as online, and as well as are reported out in our reporting and metrics. So that completes the preview of the capability of the publisher products technically. So next we want to talk about licensing and support. The publisher team understands how unique our customer models and environments are. We will never ask you, give us your model so we can fix our publisher. Nope, we want you guys to try our publisher in your environments, on your models, before you even buy it. So in most cases, our customers, during the evaluation period, the potential customer will run the publisher on their model elements. It's the exact same publisher you would get with a purchase. The only difference is the watermark on the diagrams. And during that evaluation period, you may find here's an additional rule or additional element type or transformation or display option that we would like that would save us a lot of time. In most cases, between that trial evaluation and by the time we get the PO, we're able to release an updated version that has all of your requested changes. So we want you to have in hand everything you need as soon as you possibly can. As far as licensing goes, for those who use Rhapsody, MagicDraw, those sorts of things, this is all FlexLM, pretty common, pretty standard. They're program-based, floating or node-locked, whatever works best for our customers. And of course designed to support our customers in secure and non-secure environments. The publisher doesn't need anything but the source model and the source tool to create that MDZip file. You don't even need Cameo MagicDraw. I mean, you'll need it to open the file, but to actually do the publish, you only need the source tool. It doesn't call the internet. It doesn't do anything like that. It's a plugin or a standalone application. As far as support goes, I am the the lead for support in the U.S. market. So when you contact your support portal, you say hello to Robin. I will be the first one to answer any of your requests. Personalized and responsive support is important to us. It's important to your success. It's important to ours. We've all worked with larger support systems of tool vendors in the past. Enhancements sometimes take up to 6 months, up to a year, if they even happen on schedule. The publisher team is much more agile. We've turned around new rules or configurations specifically for customers in a few days. It's a transformation rule set. It's a mapping. The adaptation and updates for us are quick, something we can quickly turn around. So like I said, in most cases, though, the free trial activity covers the configuration of the tool. During that activity, you find out how the tool works, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, how to configure it, and by the time you have the tool in hand with the purchase order, it does everything that you need to do, and you know how to configure it. During that free trial activity, you get the full support from our team, myself and my team of experts, to help you with that configuration as well. So when you decide to make the purchase, you know what you're getting and you know what the results will be. Our Atlassian-based support portal is monitored by myself and my team of experts around the clock. And we also provide user documentation and knowledge bases. We have a rule in our team that if a customer asks a question that it's something that's important, we should either create a frequently asked questions, document about it, a wiki, something to explain that, or we add it as an enhancement. Our customer feedback drives our roadmap. We love to hear what changes customers would like. Our goal is to make sure our customers can focus on what matters, and the best way to achieve that is to find where we can minimize your efforts in this data interoperability. So we look forward to hearing from you, and now I'm going to pass the ball back to Jeff to talk about our customer feedback.
Thank you, Robin. Next slide, please. So here's a quick snapshot of some of our larger customers over the past couple years. As you can see, the agencies, NAVAIR, Missile Defense, came in the May timeframe. That was a really exciting agency, learned a lot about what they do and how important it is. The Navy, Homeland Security, that was one of our first customers for the system architect, and Army, as well as Lockheed, Boeing, Northrop, etc. Customers that seem to be very happy and make it exciting for me to go out and help other companies become part of this. Next slide, please. So here's 3 customer proof points where we have permission to reuse what they actually accomplished with the tool. Raytheon was the first of the customers that wanted to do the export and publish on a, say, every other week basis. They decided to stay in Rhapsody and publish for the Navy, for their Navy program. It was a small number of diagrams that they had, but they had a significant number of elements. It was a pretty complicated model. They determined at the time to rewrite the model for their customer would be 18 weeks. And then, of course, they'd have to continually tweak that to keep up with the Rhapsody model. When they used the publisher, the total time to export it was 2 hours, and there was no manual work once they were ready to send it to their customer. And bottom line, 2 hours. Wow. And the person here was Chris Finley. He was the project manager for this particular program. Next was a very, very large model. I was a little nervous because it was with the Redstone Arsenal in Alabama, I think. Anyway, 37,000 files in Rhapsody UML format, over 800,000 elements, and 700 diagrams. They believed, based on the many years that it took them to create this model, that it would take many man-years to rewrite the model, and they were very nervous. Bottom line, it took less than a day to do it with a publisher. And you can see here, it was Sean at Dynetics, and he was the lead system architect on that side. We actually had to work with the Army too on this one, which was really surprising. Next one is Northrop. This was a challenging model too, 220,000 elements, only 300 diagrams in Rhapsody. It took 30 minutes to transform from a Rhapsody model into MagicDraw. And this was Max Yervowski. He was the principal systems engineer in the program. He's no longer with Northrop, but I could get you in touch with some of the other people that work on the project if you'd like. Now we're talking sizes of files here. So we have done 7,000 diagrams with our tool for RSA for Northrop. That was for an Army program about 1.5 years ago. That was Elizabeth Davies that did that one. So 7,000 diagrams. I couldn't imagine how long it would take to rewrite something like that. Next slide, please. So bottom line, the value proposition to you, it saves engineering time. Engineering time saves cost. You deliver your product faster. You're maintaining the data integrity. So the integrity of your initial model is maintained going to the retransformed model. And you're leveraging your existing IP, so you're increasing your return on investment. All the models that you've created that you decide to export, you don't have to rewrite all that. And when people do rewrite models, there's intent. And what if the intent isn't exactly the same when you rewrite that model manually? Well, this preserves the intent as well. Next slide, please. We're encouraging everybody on the call or other people that you share this with to start a free trial. There's no risk. There's no cost. A lot of companies start their trial and don't even ask us for support. We've tried to call them like a day later and see if we could kick it off, and they're telling us, oh, we've already done our analysis overnight, in less than a day, and they were excited. So anyway, it's not hard. It won't take a lot of time, and it doesn't cost anything for you to try it. Next slide, please. So we talked a little before we kicked off the presentation about interoperability, and bottom line, our company, Sodius, in addition to this transformation technology that we have, we do enable the thread of engineering, the digital thread of engineering. Next slide, please. So interoperability was something that we talked about. We have a tool named OSLC Connect for Jira. And basically what it'll allow you to do is connect your Jira repositories to IBM Doors Next Gen, the IBM Engineering Workflow Management, Engineering Test Management, Global Configuration. Nobody else supports global configuration as robustly as we do. TRS reporting solutions. In addition to that, Siemens Polarian supports OSLC. So when we did that test, we just said, hey, let's just connect these things and see if it works. And it did. It worked. And that was really exciting. Next is the migration toolkit for Doors to Doors Next Gen. Another company in your space is doing an enterprise agreement with us because they're moving all their doors to Doors Next over the next several years. And bottom line, they thought it was going to take a lot of manpower effort to do it. And what they found in their many evaluations is once you kick it off, once you set up your Doors Next server and kick it off, there's no manual work to do. So it's really exciting technology. We really haven't pushed advertising it much, but once we started selling OSLC Connect for Jira, Those conversations led us to ask the question, are you indoors or doors next? Oh, we're indoors. Well, have you thought about going to doors next? These are the reasons why you might want to go to doors next. Yeah, but there's no way for us to get from doors to doors next without a lot of work. Guess what? We have this migration toolkit that we weren't advertising. You might want to try it. And now we're finding the demand for that is huge. So it's exciting to see how well it works. Next slide, please. And that's it for our formal presentation. If you have questions, please feel free to share them with us at this point. But before I end, I want to say feel free to reach out to Robin or myself anytime. That's what we're here for, to help you be successful in your programs.
Well, Jeff and Robin, thank you very much. You know, I really appreciate it that with the right presenters, we can truly turn this into an MBSE Nerds Summit. That is my plan. So for the next 3 days, all the other presentations are canceled. We're going to continue to do MBSE. Uh-oh, that just scared everybody. So, Robin, a question. Shame on you. 3,000 elements, hundreds of diagrams in a model. Oh, manufacturing doesn't like to build parts from an installation view. And downstream consumers don't like to integrate subsystem functions using a mega system model. Your solution sounds amazing, but aren't you promoting the wrong functionality?
That's a really good question. I mean, we're walking a fine line as a tool vendor. We don't want to change what they did, right? So our job has been to make a functionally equivalent, identical model. We haven't initially set it up so that they could export them into smaller models and reference each other and those sorts of things. I say my model, but that's my abuse case for validation from one of our customers. The customers historically have giant models. Our publisher is designed to publish a project in the source tool to a project in the destination tool. If you want to break that up before the publish, you can do that. We maintain hyperlinks and references within what is capable of the APIs, of course. And so in our sense, we're not trying to make existing customer data better. We're just trying to get it into another place where they can use it, manipulate it, and share it, sort of thing. So I'm going to push the blame back on the people who wrote the source model.
that is fair, and I hope you tolerate the abuse. So
I wish we could make it better. I agree, but there's a fine line there, right? We don't want the publisher.
Customer's always right.
Yes.
Customer's always right. All right. Some more questions. Do I need a license for both products I am translating? And does your publisher swap out images in place of what were elements in a diagram?
Yeah, two questions. First one, you only need to run the publisher, you only need a license for the source tool. So the publisher for Rhapsody runs on Rhapsody. It actually opens up the model in Rhapsody and pulls the information through the API, sort of thing. Same thing with SA, same thing with RSA. As far as images go, yes, in version, I think it was 2.3.0 of the publisher, we now allow the transformation of images. So for example, my validation set has a whole bunch of, funny pictures on it, and it will take those and replace them with the elements on the diagram. However, they're set in the source. So
Okay.
if you use images, they come across, hyperlinks come across, colors and fonts come across. There's some font differences between the tools, on some differences between what they call lines, whether they're curvilinear or Bezier or rectilinear, but that's all documented.
Well, that's fabulous. I can't even get my Microsoft Word to communicate with the same font with my Microsoft PowerPoint. So you are way ahead. So how is consistency maintained through the publishing process and into the results?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on that a little bit in the presentation, but when the publisher runs, it's pretty simple. It's like a thesaurus or a dictionary between languages, right? It's a mapping rule set. It applies the same rules to the same definitions every single time based on the rule set defined in the publisher, which is shared in our documentation, as well as whatever user configuration settings our customers want to use. So for example, if they say, I always want to have rectilinear lines on every single diagram, then every line on every diagram published will be rectilinear, whether it was in the source model or not. So the consistency is maintained because you're continuously and repeatably able to apply the same rule set to the transformation. Another really cool thing is we maintain consistent IDs through the transformation. For example, you publish a Rhapsody model twice in a row, back to back with no changes. You open it up in Cameo and you compare those two models, there'll be no differences. Only the differences that you would make to the source model would show up there. So every time that you publish, you can compare within the tool back to the original or the previous published and see the differences as well.
Well, Robin and Jim, we really appreciate it that you were able to join us today, and we have run out of time, and so I am going to push it to Annalise.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, thank you, Mark, as well. I'm going to do a quick recap on behalf of Kenny since he wasn't available to just do the closeout. So today we heard from Martin Steele at NASA with regards to models and simulation, talking about models and a lot of data. We had Mark Williams from Boeing give his presentation as well on digital transformation, specifically outlining some topics such as LOTAR, PDIS, various sponsors of those activities, and talked about the archival based on a model's purpose, integration, and a lot about metadata. We heard from Jay Simmons from Northrop Grumman talking about DevSecOps for MBSE and CDRL Factory and artifacts. And we also heard from Craig Brown of SimData with an outlook on the market trends, specifically some market forecasts regarding elements of MBSE as well. And then last but not least, Jeff and Robin from Sodius. So thank you all so much for your time today. I'm going to share the agenda for tomorrow so you can take a quick glance at that. So tomorrow we'll kick it off again, 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Kenny will be back to open it up. We have a bit shorter day tomorrow, so we'll give you guys a little break halfway through the week and then continue on with the remainder tracks from there. So tomorrow will be CAMSC, or Computer-Aided Manufacturing and Supply Chain, and you can go back to the website to refer to the rest of the presentations for the week. Thanks again for joining us, and see you tomorrow. Thank you.